If you're anything like me, at some point in your life you've gone to make a payment and realized that you might not quite have the time you need to get it through. Fortunately, this is far less a problem than it used to be. In 2017, private industry, a company called the Clearinghouse, created what is called a real-time payment rail or network, often described as the plumbing of the modern finance system. And this was taken up with huge encouragement by the banks. Everyone who adopted it was able to use the service to make near instantaneous or instantaneous payments. This was followed by a suite of other options. You probably on your phone have at least one of these apps like Zelle or PayPal or Venmo that offer, if not quite instantaneous payments, then the nearest best thing. So there was a problem and private industry solved it. End of story? Well, not quite. This morning, the Federal Reserve released its own real-time payment network called FedNow. And while this in and of itself isn't hugely uncommon, plenty of other countries do the same thing, it's a very, very late to the party, and that's just one of the problems with the Fed's new announcement. For starters, as mentioned, they're over a decade of production just to get to this point, and hundreds of millions of dollars. Secondly, the new system created by the Fed isn't what's called interoperable, i.e. money sent from private networks can't be received by the Fed's system, which requires a company to stand in the middle to facilitate the transaction. And what this means is that banks are going to have to create the systems to interface with the new Federal Reserve program, which means that we're still going to be several years away from adoption. What does this tell us about the Federal Reserve itself? For one, it may actually be contrary to the Fed's own mandate. The 1980 Monetary Control Act says that the Fed should only intervene in this manner where there is clear evidence of a market failure. It's quite difficult to articulate that failure in this case. Even if it weren't, the Fed's announcement that it was going to create this system led to an instant chilling effect in private markets. So the Fed's actions actually decreased competition. Even if none of these problems existed, I think it's still appropriate to have concerns about the role of the Federal Reserve in modern markets. As participator, regulator, and supervisor in the economy, this scope creep leads to a significant conflict of interest for the Fed. So where does this leave us? If I can borrow a joke, it's not mine, apologies. It's less a case of Fed now and more Fed why.